Hey guys, welcome back. So I have another interview question for you. What are the types of database relationships? Now, when it comes to database relationships, we have three types. We have a one-to-one relationship, a one-to-many relationship, and a many-to-many relationship. In the next slide, I'm going to explain each one of these relationships. All right, so we first start off with the one-to-one relationship. The one-to-one relationship is basically a relationship that states that you're going to have one parent record that has 0 to 1 child records only. So, for example, imagine that we have two tables. One table is the person table, and another table would be the driver's license table. Now, when it comes to these two tables, we know that a person can only have one driver's license, and a driver's license is only assigned to one person. Another thing I want to show you guys are these two tables. So we have a person's table here, and we have a driver's license table right here. And on this person's table, we have a person ID, a person name, and a driver's license number. And in this driver's license table, we have a driver's license number, the address, as well as the birthday of the person that this driver's license is assigned to. So as you can see here, there is a one-to-one relationship. So, for example, if you go into this driver's license table, none of these driver's licenses are going to be duplicated at all because it only maintains a one-to-one relationship between the person and the driver's license. And it's always good to remember here, especially when we're talking about this particular scenario, a person can only have one driver's license, and a driver's license belongs to only one person. So that's the one-to-one relationship. Next, I want to talk about the one-to-many relationship. Now, the one-to-many relationship pretty much states that the parent record can have many child records. Now, imagine this. Let's say we have two tables. We have a mother table and we have a child table. Now, a mother can have multiple children, but each one of those multiple children only have one mother. So this is an example of a one-to-many relationship. Now, imagine that we have these two tables now. We have the mother table here, and then we have the child table that you can see down here at the bottom. Now, in this mother table, we have two columns. We have a mother ID and we have a mother's name. And in this child table, we have four columns. We have a child's social security number, the child's name, birthday, which is pretty much when the child was born, and the mother ID. So, as you can see here, if we look at the foreign key in this table mother, in this child table, we see that this key is related to the primary key of mother. And that's one thing to remember when it comes to one-to-many relationships. One table has to have a foreign key that points to the primary key of the parent table. So if you're ever asked a question where you have to create a one-to-many relationship, you always have to make sure that whatever relationship is on the many side would consist of a foreign key that points to the parent table. So, for example, if you have a mother, a mother can have multiple children, but children, every child is assigned to one mother. So let's just go through this table a little bit. So we look at this first child here, Julia Marshall. Julia Marshall has a foreign key here called mother ID, which points back to her mother. So Julia Marshall has a mother, and her name is Sarah Marshall. And then Sarah Marshall also has another child, Jacob Marshall, who is also the child of Sarah Marshall. And then we also have Samantha Marshall, which you can see how each one of these foreign keys relate back to the primary key. So this is a one-to-many relationship. One mother can have many children, but many children can only have one mother. Now I want to talk about the many-to-many relationship. Now, when it comes to working with the many-to-many relationship, it's a relationship that states that many parents can have many child records, and many child records can have many parent records. So imagine that we have a book table and an author's table. A book can have multiple authors, and an author can write multiple books. Okay, so imagine that we have these two tables. Once again, the book table and we have an author's table here. As we can see in the book table, we have a book ID and a book title. And in the author's table, we have an author ID and an author's name. Now, what we have to do is find a common relationship between these two tables. As you can see in these two tables, it doesn't look like there's any relationship. There's no foreign keys relating to any primary keys or any primary keys associated with any foreign keys or in any table. One thing to take note of is when you're dealing with a many-to-many relationship, the only way to build that relationship between them is to actually create yourself a new table. Now, as you can see here, we have a table called Author Books. Now, within this Author Books table, it takes into account the author ID as well as the book ID. And this is the table that's going to bind the book table and the author table together. So this is how you would go about implementing a many-to-many relationship. You always have to make sure that when you're dealing with a many-to-many relationship, there's always going to be three tables. There's going to be three tables in order to create that many-to-many relationship. All right, so as you can see here in this author book, we have author ID and book ID. So in order to explain what we had in the previous slide, many books can have many authors, this is what we would do. So many books can have many authors. So as you can see here in this author book table, we have author ID, which says 2288. Okay, and he is assigned to book 1. And we also have another author who is 1456, who is also assigned to book 1. So the author in 2288 is Julie Huff. Now, there's another author who also paired up with Julie Huff to write this book, and her author ID is 1456. 1456. So Julie Huff and Samantha White both worked on this same book. So that pretty much builds a relationship that a book can have many authors. So yeah, that's pretty much the first relationship. A book can have many authors. So as you can see here, this book 1, which is The Sky is Blue, has many authors, and you can see that right here. And if we were to go back one more time, an author can write multiple books. All right, so as you can see here, we actually have two authors here that have written multiple books. So we have one author who has written multiple books. This author here, 1544, and we also have 1544 right down here. So Mark Cleverstone has written 2 books. Mark Cleverstone has written book ID 4 and book ID 5. So he worked on somebody with this book, but he still was part of writing this book, Learning Biology, and he also wrote the book, How to Free Your Mind. He actually wrote that book by himself. So you can see how that many-to-many relationship works. So a book can be written by multiple authors, and an author can write multiple books. And this is how you build that many-to-many relationship. All right, so you've reached the end of this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you've learned something here. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one.